Hey, I'm FriendlyBaron, and welcome to Casual vs Speedrun Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. In this series, I will show a comparison on how a casual plays the game versus how a speedrun does the story mode, and highlight the differences that let the speedrun complete the game faster. The speedrun will hop on the BMX bike right away and begin tapping the forward key to reach max speed, while the casual slowly gets on and begins riding the bike while reading the help prompts in the top left. The game only tells them about tapping forward during the next mission. The speedrun takes an ideal route across the freeway and then through the back alley onto Grove Street, while flicking the camera to despawn AI traffic. We'll touch back on how that works later. Approaching the mission marker, the speedrun jumps off at the perfect spot so that CJ's running animation finishes just inside the circle. Unlike GTA 5 for example, the player usually needs to come to a full stop on the road to trigger mission markers when on foot, and can't trigger these on-foot markers within a vehicle, including bicycles. The casual has taken some time to slowly navigate using the minimap in the bottom left while also learning the basic controls of the game as they ride down Grove Street for the first time, while it's likely been well into the hundreds of attempts for the speedrunner. The speedrun is paused as the casual catches up, indicated by the grayed out screen and pause icon. We'll be doing that from time to time. The casual will also be skipping the cutscenes that introduce Big Smoke and the crew. The goal of this series is to cover the pure gameplay differences, not cutscenes or the messing about in free roam. But during the full run, the casual would watch an extra 3 hours of cutscenes if they didn't skip them, about 2 minutes per mission. The speedrun has sped ahead of the posse to do some setup for this mission and future ones. They are looking for a cop and run over one who is on the sidewalk to get a gun about 5 missions earlier than you normally do, and then kill the driver of the pinkish Bala's car, which will skip a 5-second cutscene that normally involves that car later in the parking lot during this mission. After that, instead of returning to the bicycle, they can get into any vehicle, and a cop car is good as it's rather fast and also gives you a shotgun by getting into it. The casual is learning the jump mechanics now, and keeping up with his crew while still being harassed by the Bala's vehicle. The speedrun's crew is already entering the parking lot as he has rubber banded them along faster by being in front of them and taking out the gang car that would slow them down. Once the casual catches up, you can see the small cutscene with the Bala's car play before the close-up on Ryder, while the speedrun goes straight into the Ryder cutscene. The speedrun pushes Ryder for a moment as he is the trigger for the next cutscene. Then they will bring the car to a stop quickly with the help of the pillar, and steal a police bike which will be saved in the garage and used in a mission an hour from now within the speedrun on mission number 28. They are also shooting the car in the downtime as it raises the pistol skill by tiny amounts, and that helps with some of the early shots, upping that ability for the main character, CJ. The speedrun takes a shorter route to the next waypoint and begins pushing Ryder's NPC here again, but not too fast, as going full speed would spin Ryder out. Pushing with a motorcycle is quite difficult as you have a very small front end in which to make contact with Ryder's bike. Most new runners will instead use a car for part of this pushing as it's much easier to practice with. The speedrun can go off the edge of the embankment slowly as they have to wait for Ryder to recover anyways, though when going off jumps faster later in the run, they do have air controls for forward and backwards rotation. The casual isn't too far behind, going off the embankment now, but they don't have a motorcycle or any setup done of course. It's also quite humorous how the Bala's car flips itself over on the casual side there too. The speedrun is done pushing Ryder to his last waypoint and can drive ahead to the garage to store the motorcycle, and then finish the mission on foot. The casual also finishes up the mission by just sticking along with Ryder as normal, and that ends Big Smoke, the first sequence of GTA San Andreas, with the casual taking just over 4 minutes and the speedrun just under 3 minutes for a difference of 1 minute 22 seconds. The rest of the numbers on this screen will fill out and mean more later on in the series. Next up is Ryder, but before the mission begins, you have to go inside the house and save the game. Except not really. You can just go inside and then leave right away as the speedrun does, while the casual follows the Rockstar prompts to actually save the game. The casual is also moving slow enough that they receive a phone call before starting Ryder. These calls during the early part of the game must be answered by the speedrun too, but they will take them later on in times that are less interrupting to their mission flow. Starting Ryder now, you probably have a very good question. Why does the speedrun blow up Ryder's car? Well, even though they started synced up and the speedrun is slightly behind the casual now, there is a very good reason to destroy Ryder's cherished vehicle that we'll get to momentarily. For now, the speedrun takes an ideal route through the side alley that will get them over to Reese's barbershop as fast as possible. The casual is still driving mostly off the minimap, but as they play the game and get more familiar with it, their ability to navigate around Los Santos will improve. The speedrun disregards normal parking norms and pulls right up to the shop. They will always exit vehicles by running right away in order to skip the animations of CJ closing the driver's door. Once inside, the speedrun specifically chooses the Jerry curl, as it has a high sex appeal for the girlfriend Katie later in the run, who you need to go on a date with to perform a certain trick during the San Fierro section of the game about an hour and a half from now. The casual takes their time choosing an option, but is at least smart enough to choose a superior afro hairstyle. Now, here is why we blew up Ryder's car by shooting the gas tank at the beginning of the mission. The speedrun can skip this cutscene that explains the food and fat system in the game. Rockstar assumes that if you have started the mission once, then you've watched the tutorial cutscene, and they won't make you rewatch it again. However, since the speedrun failed right away and then restarted, the game thinks they have seen this cutscene already and lets them head directly into the pizza joint, while the casual watches the cutscene, unaware that if he had simply killed his best friend earlier, he could be eating pizza already too. The casual is eventually able to go inside and spend a few moments choosing which meal type to get. The speedrun just gets the default kids meal option, as it doesn't matter what you buy here, you just have to buy something to progress the mission. There is then a cutscene of Ryder trying, keyword trying, to rob the pizza store, but the clerk fights back, but we skip those cutscenes of course, and are outside to escape. The speedrun gets right to the car and speeds up just enough that they bring Ryder along in the passenger seat without him falling over because the car is moving too quickly as he's getting in. The casual just thinks to escape away from the pizza place first, before finding their bearings and turning back towards Grove Street, while the speedrun has been heading directly there the entire time. The speedrun will go through Ryder's front yard, thread the needle between the poles, house, and old car. We really aren't too nice to Ryder in this mission. After the cutscene and the casual arriving and pulling into this driveway normally, the mission is over. The casual took 4 minutes, and the speedrun only half that thanks to skipping the long cutscene by blowing up Ryder's car, choosing a meal quicker, and driving back to Ryder's house faster. To fully explain all the numbers now, the total times under the casual and speedrun text are how long those respective playthroughs have taken overall, and the overall difference is a straightforward between the two. Our speedrun has already saved 4 minutes over the casual. Down below, the mission difference is just for the single section, and the speedrun is for example 52% faster in this mission, which is a significantly large difference. Now on to tagging up turf. The speedrun knows right away to run to the red marker, and the casual notices it a moment later. Another thing the speedrun will always be doing is holding the sprint button while getting into vehicles, as this prevents CJ from closing the door and letting you drive off quicker. Notice how the casual right now closes the door before getting going. This drive to the next location is simple, and as the speedrun arrives they will swing the car around so it is facing the direction they need to go after this section. The speedrun runs to get the first graffiti quickly, and sprays only as long as necessary while keeping moving for maximum speed. We'll let the casual catch up, and they grab their first tag, then head over the fence and walls to get the second one in this area. The speedrun can just use the range of the spray can to get this tag from the other side, since they know where it's located. The graffiti system doesn't care about line of sight, and allows them to run back to the car much quicker. The speedrun will take early turns to get up into the next part of the mission for a better route with more open roads than what the casual takes, and they also head face directly to the graffiti instead of having to run across the road like the casual. Once synced up again, the speedrun will shoot one of the gang members with the gun we acquired earlier, which skips a 1-second cutscene that also brings the player to a stop, telling you to spray them with the paint instead. The speedrun then bashes down the fence with a baton we got from a cop earlier too to head to the final graffiti. Instead of climbing up the building normally, the speedrun will jump at the perfect moment to catch the ledge at the arc of CJ's jump, which lets you get up in a single vault, saving a solid 15 seconds right there, while the casual will be vaulting over the previous fence and then up the building's backside. Before the cutscene showing sweet returning plays, the speedrun is quick to turn around and jump off the building. You can travel during this cutscene still, and CJ lands right next to where the car will be. From here, both players will head back to Grove Street, with the casual taking a much less refined route, but also learning about more alleyways in the game. That finishes tagging up turf, and the speedrun finished about a minute and a half faster than the casual thanks to optimized graffiti application, better driving routes, and parkouring up and down the final building much quicker. The speedrun moves into the marker to start cleaning the hood before the mission pass screen is even over, and then gets into the passenger seat and leaves it open so Ryder can join CJ in the car quicker. During the game already, you may have noticed the speedrun screen flashing, generally before missions or before cutscenes. This is the speedrun playing a replay that skipped the fade-in of a cutscene, and a good example of it happens entering this next marker. The speedrun will jump out of the car as that skips the car need to come to a stop for this section, and they will also play a replay to skip the fade-in. A replay in game is supposed to be used as an action playback, by pressing the default of F1 to play it back and F2 to take a recording, and the size is usually about 20 to 30 seconds of gameplay until the buffer is full. However, the speedrunner can abuse this mechanic by making replays that are only a few frames long with good reaction time when exiting a mission. We'll cover these again more in depth in future episodes, but that's enough of a base to explain the flashes of gameplay for now. Instead of getting back in the car and driving to the next spot like the casual has done, the speedrunner just runs over to shoot the drug dealer with the gun we already have, and then shoots the fence to get CJ and Ryder onto the road faster. Meanwhile, the casual is having to do a slow melee fight with the drug dealer as they don't have a gun of any kind yet. The speedrun gets a nice cop bike spawn the drive, and holds the horn while Ryder gets on. When holding the horn, the cops will just shake their fist at you like other NPCs do, and this prevents them from busting you off the motorcycle. Use this one weird trick to avoid all traffic tickets. Disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer and don't do that in real life. The speedrun is already at the next part of the mission thanks to the bike. The speedrun is already at the next part of the mission thanks to the bike, and yet again will run inside and shoot down the 3 enemies instead of having a fist fight as the casual will have to do yet again. The speedrun will also put a few extra shots into Ryder while the voice lines play to raise their pistol skill just a little bit higher. The runner's bike was already facing the direction they needed to go. They swung it into position while entering that cutscene, since motion often carries, and can drive straight back to Grove Street. The casual finishes their melee fight eventually as well and heads back to finish the mission. The speedrun takes a minute and a half while the casual takes over 3 minutes, and thanks to starting this mission quicker and bringing a gun to the melee fight like Indiana Jones did, the speedrun was again over 50% quicker than the casual. These missions early on are short, but really starting to show how much time the speedrunner is going to save over the course of this series. The speedrunner will again quickly start the mission Drive-Thru, taking a weird but optimized route through some alleys and off-road a moment, instead of on the road as expected. I am sorry to report that watching the entire Big Smoke order is not part of the speedrun rules, but do watch as the speedrun rounds the corner without touching the sidewalk to get to the mission marker. The reason for that will now be demonstrated on the casual side. Some mission triggers require the car to be slow or on the ground, so going over the curb here too fast will make the car go right past the red circle instead of bringing the player to a stop. Normally in this mission, as now shown by the casual, you have to chase down Abala's gang car and slowly let your crew shoot it up till eventually kill the occupants. The speedrun will make this go way faster by pulling right alongside the car, preventing it from making the right turn. This lets Sweet and Ryder shoot the passenger quickly, and once he dies, the driver gets out of the car and the player can run them over. The speedrun will be on their way back to Grove Street nearly instantly, making this a very quick mission. The casual will have to follow behind the gang car for a long while until it becomes so damaged and the passengers get out. They don't end up dying by the guns unless you pull alongside as the speedrun did, though some casuals may do this on their own anyways. As the speedrun returns to Grove Street, they will flip the car and carry momentum into the cutscene so that they are then facing a good direction to drive Smoke back to his house, where the mission properly finishes. I'd like to mention, if you are new to my channel or this Casual vs Speedrun format, I've done this entire kind of series for GTA 5 already, which you can find in the description or on my channel, and I plan to continue doing this for more games on the future. The speedrun will flip the car again in a nice way to be facing where they need to go for the next mission, and once the casual is fast forwarded up, that ends Drive-Thru, with the speedrun taking a familiar 50% less time than the casual did, mostly thanks to quickly ending the shootout / chase sequence by having pulled alongside the car. 9s and AKs is going to be a dangerous mission because the casual finally gets a gun. Both players are heading back to Grove Street to begin the mission at Sweet's house at their respective pace. The speedrunner is not going to start right away, but rather crash into the fences that come to a stop, and then take a phone call, that same one the casual took earlier. They take it here as they can answer the phone then immediately hang up, but by dropping off a small ledge on the porch, it cancels the animation of the hang up and begins the mission right away. The casual is taking a phone call again as well, but they are slightly distracted by watching the car they flipped burn and explode, and then have to wait for the animation to end before they can get into the mission. The speedrun took another alley to get down towards the next marker, and is flicking the camera to despawn traffic. Notice they don't look all the way down, but only flick the top edge of the screen basically. This will make the traffic change only in the distance, but keep things close by still spawned in or not. You don't want to look all the way down and spawn a car right in front of you. The shooting here is going to be pretty straightforward, except the speedrun will also shoot at Emmett and Smoke while the voice lines play, as that raises their pistol skill. 2 missions soon require a quick shot with a pistol before we upgrade to other guns, so the lessened recoil and smaller reticle from a higher pistol skill is worth shooting your allies a few times basically. It's also possible to kill them if you shoot them too much, so don't do that. The speedrun and casual are both playing on PC for this series. It is possible to speedrun on controller, but most top runners are on mouse and keyboard. Controller generally loses some time for complicated inputs and shootouts. The game rules require the frame limiter be set to on, which means the game is set at 25 FPS, and the game cannot have any mods, not even anything to make the game look better, as someone could easily package cheats into those anyways. The speedrunners play on EU patch 1.01 usually, but the links to downgrade that version are free online, and I will include all sorts of info about getting started running this game in the description if you happen to be interested in that. This version of the game is speedrun friendly as it allows for holding calls in vehicles and pause buffering, two tricks that will play an important role later in the speedrun. The speedrunners finished learning how to shoot a gun, technically, and headed to Smoke's house to end the mission, while the casual is actually learning stuff, like how to blow up a car. I'll also get some more info out of the way about the missions. There's more than 100 missions in the game, but we only have to do missions in the speedrun required for the main storyline, hence the 89 number there. Missions like driving school and Zero's remote control missions aren't required and won't be done in this series, though I may do bonus episodes showing how a speedrun does them anyways. 9s and AKs isn't over yet. Sweet calls CJ and tells him to go to the clothing store to get into some Grove Street green, so both players get a vehicle to drive over quickly. The speedrun shoots out the driver with a quick headshot to open the door for them and skip the yanking animation. The speedrun will spin the vehicle around into the marker and face it towards the next mission's start point. You don't actually have to buy clothes here, the speedrun just has to walk into the bingo clothing store and then right back out, similar to skipping making a save file early in the game to complete the mission. Our casual at least takes a look at a few clothing options before leaving the store themselves as well. The speedrun was a minute ahead after dropping off Smoke at his house thanks to the quicker shooting at the target bottles, but gains another 45 seconds over the casual by not spending extra time in the clothing shop. So the casual takes just under 5 minutes, and the speedrun just over 3 minutes. So far, the casual has played for 23 minutes, but the speedrun has only played for 13 minutes, so we've already seen how the speedrunner is 10 minutes ahead just this episode. Before ending this episode, I'd like to go over a few things that will likely get asked anyways. First, who is the casual? Technically the casual is played by me, but the idea is the casual is not me. It's not you, it's not your friend, it's not your favorite Let's Play YouTuber. The casual is meant to show off the average player, someone who is decent at games but not terrible, and plays through the game the way the developers intended. As well, as mentioned earlier, the casual is meant to just do the main missions, and magically knows the mission order. All of this just makes the series more watchable and easier to follow the gameplay differences between the casual and the speedrun. The goal of this series is not to mock casuals. I sometimes may try to be a bit humorous saying, oh casual this, oh casual that, but I will never mean it in a serious way. I highly endorse anyone who plays a game the way they find fun. Whether it's running around aimlessly, speedrunning, just doing missions, whatever you want, you do you. This is just a series comparing two styles of gameplay that are most common. Second, who is the speedrunner? Reset, who holds the world record in GTA San Andreas, has provided me the footage for the speedrunner here. You can check out his Twitch and YouTube, both of which I have linked in the description. Really happy he agreed to work with me on this one. His gameplay is crazy good. I'd also like to thank some people who helped me get started in this game. M-Toms, Kaspersky, Burhack, Follux, and Turtale. All helped me learn the game as I did some practice runs on streams, and I would have fallen apart without them. Third, what about the dupes and mission skips? Okay, so later in the game, there was a way to literally skip entire missions. In this series, we'll show both the skips, but also show the non-skip route the speedrunner can take, also known as the no major glitches route. That'll be worked out in future episodes, but you'll get to see both methods for all the missions compared to the casual. Thanks for watching. I'm open to criticisms and critique if it's constructive. Feel free to check out the GTA 5 episodes if you haven't seen that series. And if you're watching this close to the day I first released it, I look forward to going on this journey over the next few weeks with you. And also don't worry, I will be uploading GTA 5 speedrun content as well still. If you're finding this series a few months later, enjoy the binge watch you can have right now.